Hello and welcome to another episode of the Black Diamond Podcast. This is episode 30. God damn it. I had this looked up and it's the Nolan Ryan episode. I had it looked up like who the numbers I was gonna say, and then like my brain drew a blank as soon as we went live. Just one of those things. But this is the Nolan Ryan / Luke Weaver episode of the program. This is going to be the second to last episode of Black Diamond ever before we transition to the 4 to 7 pod. Make sure you're following us. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, all that stuff. I do assume that we're probably going to keep the same Twitter account and same YouTube channel and just change the name and the handles of those. And then we'll have new other social media accounts, Instagram, TikTok, whatever else, Blue Sky, maybe. We'll see. But, for now, we're still, we are still Black Diamond. I just got back from seeing Interstellar, which technically you could say is a baseball movie. It's also technically a Yankees movie. And it's very fitting because it's it kind of reminds me of Juan Soto leaving his family to go play for the Mercury Mets.
Before we turned the cameras on, Chris was just looking at the TV going, no.
If you're gonna go, just go. I had to get that in there. But yeah, no, in all seriousness, Interstellar, one of my favorite movies of all time. It's like the 10-year anniversary, so they're playing it in IMAX theaters. I'm not sure how much longer they're doing it for, but if you're able to, definitely, if you've never seen the movie before, take 3 hours of your life to see it. It's incredible. If you've seen it before and you liked it, you definitely got to go see it in IMAX. It's like,
I'm envious because I don't know what the closest IMAX in the state of Florida is, or at least because I'm not far from the Kennedy Space Center and they have an IMAX, but they don't usually run like standard Hollywood movies. The only time they did that was for the first the newest era of the Star Treks, which was like 2009. But yeah, like I remember when The Dark Knight got released, they had those in IMAX, and I was like, man, I'll go see that in IMAX. There's nothing nearby, and man, I wish I had done that. So yeah, if you have the means, go do it.
Yeah. If you have the means and if there are available showtimes, I think tonight might have been the last one in Pittsburgh because me and my friend went and it was like a sold out. It was like a sold out show basically, and to my knowledge, I think it very well might have been the last one. So they might be winding it down. But yeah, if there's an IMAX near you that's playing it, definitely take the time, go see it. It's worth it. Beautiful movie, and yeah, definitely has some baseball in it. They play some baseball on Saturn too. So just overall great movie, and it's a baseball movie, so we're allowed to talk about it.
Hey, anyway, okay. The Mets have 2 Men in Black movies and the movie Frequency, so I'll put my filmography up with anybody.
Hey, that's fair. That's fair. Any movie, any movie counts, really.
Yeah, I'm not picky.
Yeah, like if Die Hard is a Christmas movie, then Interstellar is a baseball movie. But anyway, moving on to real baseball stuff. The Yankees, after they kind of went radio silent for about 48 hours or so after the Soto news dropped. But Cash God has returned, and the Yankees have made a plethora of moves over the last week and a half or so. In response to losing Juan Soto. First, they signed Max Fried to an 8-year, $218 million contract. A couple days after that, they traded for Devin Williams, and then they traded. And then yesterday, they traded for Cody Bellinger. So Plan B is starting to, Plan B for the Yankees is starting to come to fruition. And so we'll talk all about it. I guess I'll just ask you as like kind of an outsider what your thoughts are on the moves, starting with Fried.
Well, first off, I want to thank you for getting Max Fried out of the National League and specifically the National League East.
You're quite welcome.
Thank you. Glad I don't have to deal with that anymore. So you got Devin Williams, huh?
Yep.
I remember.
Yeah, and and I'll just throw this out there. If there's a certain someone who's hitting home runs off of Devin Williams, he can't do that if he's on his team. So I'm just going to throw that out there too.
David, Steve, you heard that, right? Lock it up.
They're definitely listening, so I'm sure they did.
Yeah. Also, Devin Williams might be the one that tears down the wall of communism, known as the no facial hair rule. It seems like he's gonna ride this out as long as he can. And
yeah,
I used to work at places that had that. I respect it. I went to Catholic school growing up. I know about this, and I used to try to skirt it in my own ways. So I respect Devin Williams publicly being let it known, like, hell with this.
Yeah, he is fighting the tyranny of the facial hair rule. I mean, so many players have come before him and that were notorious for their facial hair, like Johnny Damon, even like Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole had a pretty good beard going before he got traded.
He had a mullet too.
Yeah, he did also have a mullet. Now he has like a more like a clean cut mullet and like a 5 o'clock shadow. So it'll be interesting. Yeah, Alex Verdugo also, he also had a.
I'm just saying, Sevy looked a whole lot cooler. I'm just saying.
It's hard to it's hard to argue that. Well, Sevy's gonna look cool as hell in Sacramento and being the richest man in franchise history. So good for him.
It pains me that he leaves. I thought it might happen, but hey, $67 million 2 years after he said he was the worst pitcher in the league. I have to salute that. Like, if someone's going to give you that after everything he went through, even if it's not us, I thank him for his service. It's the best I can, and I don't mean that bitterly or anything. Like, hey, you did your job.
Yeah, but I do doubt that. I do doubt that Devin Williams is going to be the one to. That Devin Williams is going to be the one to break the break that cycle. But I do hope he rides it out as long as he can. I'm guessing. I'm not sure what the exact rules are. I'm guessing that he would have to probably shave it by like spring training at the latest. So he's got a couple more months till pitchers and catchers report. So, he can chill on that for now. And then, he probably doesn't have to worry about that until then, unless they want him to do, some sort of press conference.
I just picture if he really wants to be an asshole about it, he could do the Baker Mayfield, which is first day pitchers and catchers show up. So, there's going to be camera crews and everything, like right outside the players' parking lot. And he walks in with it. So everyone's like, oh my God, he's actually going to follow through with it. Oh my God. And then he gets into the locker room. All right.
He like starts shaving while like.
And then they go out on the field. It's like, where'd he go? What happened? If you really wanted to play this up, that would be the move.
Yeah, that is. I mean, that is one route that he could go. As far as that goes, it'll definitely be interesting to see how he handles it. But I don't know. I got the feeling I have a feeling the Yankees will probably nix that. As soon as they can, pretty much like as soon as they can. Probably as soon as he closes on his house in the Bronx or whatever, they'll probably
we literally signed a dude who looked like Jesus and we made him drop it.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
oh man.
yeah. Like if Johnny Damon could not survive that, then I don't think anybody can. Sadly, it's a silly rule. It's outdated, but I guess it's tradition or something like that. But yeah, so Max Fried, 8 years, $218 million. Now Max Fried is 30 years old. This will be his age 31 season. He turned because his birthday is in January, so he's essentially 31 years old. Very good pitcher when healthy. Obviously, you can attest to that, having to having to face him, having to face him all the time. He's got a 3.07 career ERA. Definitely someone that you hope can be, kind of like the can be like the firm number two behind Cole.
Has
We were
postseason
hoping
experience. I think that helps.
Yeah, he does have the postseason experience. I know, like we were hoping Rodon could be that guy. I think he's also a much needed lefty arm as well. So I think that having like a horse of a left-hander like that in your rotation in Yankee Stadium when you're pitching the lefties in that ballpark, I think that's something that should work well for them. It's definitely a classic case of, obviously by the end of this contract, he's going to be 38. I believe there is an opt out, I would assume, at some point in the contract.
But it's like we talked about in the last episode. Like you have Judge right now at 32. You have Cole at, I think he's 33.
Yeah.
So you have
the time
6, 7, and 8 might not be great. You're trying to maximize 5. Like that's and if you get something out of it, then like okay, fine. You live with the back half. That's fine. So
it's definitely one of those where it's definitely one of those deals where you hope you have a good at least like another like good 3 to 4 years where he's where he's an elite pitcher, where he can really solidify like the front end of your rotation, especially when you do get to the playoffs. And obviously having that experience helps, because I think that, as we kind of saw in the playoffs for the Yankees this year, once you got beyond Cole, while the rest of the staff was not abysmal by any means, there were a lot of question marks, and it was something that I think in the end it did end up being it did end up being more of a weakness for them than I think we thought. So good on them for addressing that. Obviously they lost one of their main relievers in Clay Holmes, who is now a starter for the Mets. So I think that even before the playoffs and before the World Series and stuff, the rumor always was that the Yankees were going to be very aggressive on the closer market in trades. So I think to get Devin Williams, and you only give up Nestor Cortez and Caleb Durbin, who Caleb Durbin is a pretty solid prospect. He's not an elite prospect, but he's definitely definitely solid, and definitely somebody that could be good.
he wasn't even like the highest ranked infield prospect. You guys, like Roderick Arias was 1, if I have that right.
Yeah, and he's he hasn't put up any like real like he has decent numbers in the minors, but nothing really eye popping. I think he'll probably end up being. I don't think he'll end up being like a bust. I don't think he'll end up being an all-star, but I do think he'll probably end up being like. I think he'll be like a serviceable starter in Major League Baseball, like a serviceable starting second baseman, and there's definitely value to that.
And that's right up the Brewers' alley.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do like they do like getting guys like that. So maybe this takes them out of the running for Gleyber Torres, who things have been very quiet around him. And at this point, I would say the Yankees might just want to consider bringing him back if his market's not that hot, even though they've all but publicly announced that they don't really want anything to do with him anymore. But I wouldn't let that stop him. So, I thought that it was a pretty good business for both sides. But definitely I definitely like our end of the trade better than the other end of it. Like I like being on our side of the trade rather than the Brewers side.
I should point out Max Fried has not finished a game as a reliever since 2019. So if Aaron Boone's thinking of any ideas again, I don't know if Max is familiar with that area.
I sure hope not. Was that a game against the Mets? Is there a backstory behind the last time Max Fried made a relief appearance?
No, I was going for the very obvious here of having a lefty come in and try to finish the game.
Oh, right.
Give me the Boone.
The old Boone special. Oh man, too soon. But it is what it is. No. Hopefully that is not. Hopefully he has learned his lesson, and that is not something that he is planning on doing. I don't imagine that Max Fried would be in a position to come out of the bullpen in Game 1 of the World Series if we do get back, because he should be starting Game 2. So hopefully that is not something that's in the cards. And now that Nestor is gone, that is also something. That's one less thing to worry about as well. So Nestor can go do his funky leg kicks and mess with people's timing, down with the up with the Brew Crew in Wisconsin.
It's I'll be interested to see if Major League Baseball markets that as much now that he's on the Brewers. I got my eye on that.
Yeah, that'll definitely be something to monitor. I also wonder if on the flip side, if fans of other teams will hate on him as much for it. These are all things that'll be very interesting to keep an eye on in 2025 with Nestor Cortez. But I think that
Cardinal fans would hate that, and then when they do an old Twitter search of Nasty Nestor as a certain individual about 3 hours to the south of me in the golf course at West Palm Beach likes to call him, they'll find out that their core values and his really aren't that far apart.
True. Yeah, they'll definitely realize that, and they'll probably
you weren't familiar with your game.
Yeah, they'll probably ignore that part until he eventually ends up in St. Louis as like a reclamation project at some point down the road. Then they'll have a whole lot of tweets to go back and delete about one Nestor Cortez. But
I am missing deeply on Blue Sky, best fans account, which just retweets all of the most racist shit that Cardinal fans tweet seemingly hourly.
They never run out of content. That page. Yeah, that page never runs out of content. Best fans.
And it's not just that. It's also, they're lying about the attendance.
Yep. There's always that too. The like every home game. I feel like they're always like the most. I feel like that page is like always the most popular on opening day, but throughout the year, there's always a steady flow of content, and it's not just racism. There's definitely some some phobias in there too. They do cover all their bases out there, pun intended.
They're very inclusive about hating everybody. So.
Exactly. Yes. They are nothing if not inclusive. But as far as Nestor Cortez goes, obviously, I think that this is a move you make 10 times out of 10. And obviously, Nestor at times was an absolute headache to deal with as a Yankee. Not in like a literal sense, but like just, you know, watching him pitch, he was so on and off. And, he's definitely, obviously, obviously we all know what happened in the World Series. There have been he's had plenty of ups and downs throughout the year and really throughout his time as a Yankee, but he really is someone who, embraced, not throwing shade at anyone, but he's really someone who, embraced being a Yankee. Even in a day and age where, maybe that doesn't gravitate players as much as it used to, he's someone who, who did like, who really did embrace like the pinstripes and like being a Yankee and talking, he talked about how he had that tweet about how he's like, yeah, everyone hates on us, but like also everyone wishes they could be us. Like we're always in contention. We're all, we still got the pinstripes and like all this stuff. And then he gets shelled like a week later and the tweet aged poorly, but it was the sentiment that counted for me. So, I could tell that, he was, probably sad to have to leave, but I wish him the best. I wish him the best in Milwaukee, and that's a good, that's a good baseball team that he's going to in a pretty weak division. So, really no reason why, really no reason why he shouldn't experience more playoff baseball in the near future.
And to be fair, I know Stearns isn't there anymore, but a lot of the mechanisms that he put in place while he was in charge are still there in Milwaukee. And their GM now is Matt Arnold, who learned under him. So a lot of the things that made the Brewers successful while he was there, those things still exist. And taking a guy like Nestor Cortez, who might have low value or low perceived value at the moment, and fixing him, I mean, they had Burns and Woodruff, and there's headline guys for that. But the thing that has driven the Brewers for the past 6-7 years is acquiring guys like that and making them at least league average to above average starting caliber guys again. And if that means they stay there, great. If that means, oh well, we're going to ship them off while their value's high, and we'll just replenish, they do that too. So I think for Nestor Cortez, who may not be in the best place right now after the way things ended, at least you're going to a place where, given how the last 18 months have gone for him, this is probably the best place he can be.
Oh yeah, no, I would agree. There could be far worse landing spots for a guy like Nestor, who obviously the Yankees, obviously Matt Blake is a very good pitching coach, and he knows what he's doing, and maybe he couldn't necessarily fix Nestor, or Nestor couldn't necessarily fully figure it out with the Yankees, but yeah, no, I mean it could have been a lot worse for him. We could have we could have sent him and way higher end prospects to the White Sox for Garrett Crochet, but another team, another team in our division made that mistake, or maybe it's not a mistake, but I don't know. Personally, I think the Red Sox probably gave up too much for Crochet.
Well, I mean, the one thing I have seen a lot of Red Sox fans that I know, they've all said, yeah, we don't like giving up Teal like that. That felt like a guy that we could put in pen as our starting catcher for the next 10 years, but they didn't move Meyer. They didn't move Anthony. They didn't move Campbell. Like those, it was really those three plus Teal that they were really banking on. And if you're going to move a prospect in that spot, like Anthony's hitting numbers for the past 2 years have been incredible. And I know this as a dynasty baseball player. I mean, Meyer was a top 5 pick. They're banking on him. And Christian Campbell, I want to say, was the minor league player of the year, like for all of the minor leagues, like just had a breakout you don't normally see anywhere. So I think if they had to move one of those four, I don't think they want to move Kyle Teal, but all right,
he's probably
you give
the
something
most
to get
ideal
something.
one for them to trade. Yeah, and also it's like if you're the Red Sox, like you went 500 last year, and you at least were selling the illusion that you were serious about getting Juan Soto, or selling the illusion that you're serious about making moves to get back into contention in 2025. And you can't really do that if you just continue to prospect hug. I get that. I get that. Teal is definitely, was definitely one of the higher ranked prospects. But you can't really, if your plan is to contend in 2025, you just can't really operate like that. So he was probably the most expendable of those four.
And especially with catching prospects, it's either they come out of the gate blazing the way Buster Posey did and Adley Rutschman has, or
Gary Sanchez too, but
yeah,
even though it didn't really last.
I mean, like Yadier Molina was not Yadier Molina for like a good 4 or 5 years. I mean, there was a long stretch where he was just another Molina with a glove, and then the bat showed up. But it took a while for him to be that. Even the best catching prospects, like you get those guys that are ready to go immediately, but more often than not, those take the longest to develop because they're asked to do so much. That's why I think Teal is probably the guy that if we have to give something to get something here, and if you're selling the idea that you're at least going to try to contend in 25, the Red Sox absolutely could not run that same staff back in 2025, where Tanner Houck was good for a half and then fell through the floor. Brian Bayo's just kind of spinning his wheels. And
Yeah. The
like you might bring Nick Pivetta back, which I mean that's not putting fear in anybody's heart.
Yeah, it's like that LeBron meme. Like,
Yeah,
Brian. Yeah, the fall off of Brian Bayo needs to be studied, because in 2023 I was like, seeing him pitch, I was like, damn, like this guy's gonna haunt us for like the next 5 to 10 years. And then he just kind of fell off a cliff. Like I don't really know what happened with him. But yeah, I do. Obviously, I do love the Devin Williams move for us. I think that provides some much needed. Like a legit, like Lou Weaver is great. Don't get me wrong. I am a Lou Weaver stan. But I don't know how sustainable he was going to be as your everyday closer for a full season. He obviously caught lightning in a bottle in the playoffs, and he pretty much rode him until the wheels fell off. And then even after the wheels fell off, he still bounced back, and he was able to close out the ALCS. And I mean, he was able to. Well, he really didn't have to close out any games in the World Series, because the one game we won was a blowout, and the rest of the games we lost. So he didn't really get too much work in the World Series. I mean, he did what he needed to do in Game 1.
And even if he's not a long-term closer, like that doesn't mean he couldn't be a great 8th inning guy. And if you have a great 8th inning guy that all you had to do was just switch roles with him, you didn't have to go out and get a great 8th inning guy. You, like you said, if Devin Williams is going to be offered to you and that's the return, you do that deal.
Yeah, you
100 times out of 100, and it's great. Now I have one of the best closers in the sport, and I had a pretty good closer at the end of last year, and now I'm just going to make him my 8th inning guy, which, if you believe in him, okay, I expect he'll be no different in this role. Cool, that's my 8th and 9th inning right there.
Yeah. So there's really nothing wrong with that. The front end of the rotation is solidified, and so is the back end of the bullpen. And really the pieces in between, I think the pieces in between are definitely there for us. So I think that you address those needs, and now you kind of can turn your focus to how you're gonna replace or try to replicate Juan Soto's production in the lineup. And that's kind of where I think I think that's where the Cody Bellinger trade kind of comes into play, where The Yankees, the first trade in MLB history where a guy named Cody was traded for a guy named Cody. The Yankees sent Cody Poteet over to Chicago in exchange for Cody Bellinger. This trade was made official yesterday. I think it was announced and made official yesterday, actually, or 2 days ago now, probably by the time you listen to this podcast. Maybe 3, who knows? But within this past couple of days, we had our first Cody for Cody trade. Now this is a move I think a lot of Yankee fans do like this trade. I know that there are some that maybe don't love it, maybe because of the money that's attached to him, and I know that is part of I know that's part of why I think that's part of why this trade took so long to materialize, because I think it was on Thursday or Friday of last week where the Cubs traded with the Astros for Kyle Tucker. And as soon as that move was made official, the perception was that they were going to flip Cody over to the Yankees. And it was just kind of a matter of time. But then, it kind of took longer. It kind of took longer than expected. And then it kind of got to a point where, you even heard reports that the Yankees might be looking at other options for an outfielder / first baseman. But ultimately they were able to find some middle ground on eating the money as far as that goes. And they got and they were able to land Cody Bellinger. The initial report was that he was going to be the center fielder, which Aaron Boone kind of debunked that report and said that basically they're going to play him wherever they need him or wherever they see fit on a given night. So I do like this move in the sense that it gives them it does give them some flexibility. So, they can put him, if they want to play him in center field or left field, they can do that. If they want to play him at first base, they can do that. They can remain in the market for a first baseman. Doesn't necessarily have to be Pete Alonso, but it could be. It could also be Christian Walker. So I think it's a move that gives them a lot of flexibility. Obviously, I think for years, many have been saying how, Cody Bellinger's bat in Yankee Stadium would be a match made in heaven. I think there have even been a few road games that Bellinger played with the Cubs in Yankee Stadium where he went yard, and you kind of saw that firsthand. And, I'm sure a lot of Yankee fans were thinking oh, if only we had this guy on our team. Well, now we have him. It may have been a more reactionary move to losing someone else, but he's here now. And,
Unrelated. Unrelated. You can hear Kevin Lewis doing the Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah, I actually invited him to come on the show tonight, and he did not provide a response until now.
Listen, the link up between us and Kev one day, it will be a legendary show. It will all the typical tropes you see on it'll feed families, move mountains, whatever you want to put. But when Kevin Lewis comes on this show, things will happen. Good things.
It will. Yeah, it will feed. It will definitely feed. Will definitely feed generations. So if you know any good places to get pot in the Bronx, definitely drop your recommendations in the comments. We'll send them to Cody Bellinger ourselves. Also
want to send him to couples therapy. Might need to
also might need some couples therapy. Cody Bellinger's wife is Giancarlo Stanton's ex-girlfriend. So that's an interesting dynamic. I'm sure I'm sure they'll be able to figure that out. It'll be especially weird, when depending how they set up the lineup, say it's like Judge, Bellinger, Stanton, 2, 3, 4, and Bellinger hits a home run, and then he's trotting home, and then he's got to like high five the dude who like dated his wife before him in the on deck circle.
No,
Interesting.
it could be worse. We all saw that celebration the Dodgers had after home runs during the playoffs.
Yes. Yeah. It
doesn't need to be explained.
Yeah. What's understood doesn't need to be explained. Hopefully the Yankees don't implement that, but usually their thing is the arm lock
Right.
for the home run celebration. So it'll be interesting to see if they go all in on that, or if maybe it's just a little dap or a little fist bump and just kind of like keep it moving. I'm not really sure.
Wild scenes at Yankee Stadium when Cody Bellinger's walk-up song next year is "I Hit It First."
Yeah, or
Stanton's walk-up song is "I Hit It First." Damn, you know what? Carry on.
Yeah, or maybe or maybe that future song where he talks about Russell Wilson raising his kids.
Stanton walking up to throwaway would be crazy.
Yeah, there's really endless possibilities there. But
and you know what the most amazing thing about this is? This isn't the first time the Yankees have had something like this in their history. They did the wife swap.
Remind me of when that occurred.
The 70s. There were two pitchers on the Yankees. I believe it was I believe the names were, I think it was like Fritz Peterson and Mike Kekich decided like, oh, let's.
Of course, his last name had to have Keck in it.
The cannon.
God damn it!
Again. But one of the partner swaps, one of them actually ended up getting married. I don't know that it lasted. Actually, let me pull that up. But yeah, I'm pretty sure they were like, oh, let's do it for a season, just because it was the 70s and shit was weird. But I think one of them got married after the swap, which is crazy.
Oh, they apparently also they apparently also like swap their like children and pets.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's
they've been friends for 4 years, and then they did it during spring training. Peterson and the former Suzanne Kekich remained married, but the relationship between Mike Kekich and Marilyn Peterson did not last very long. By June, the Yankees traded Kekich. So I'm just saying, if Cody Bellinger ends up in San Diego next year, you'll know.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, we'll know. We'll know that the I hit it first. The I hit it first assertions rubbed him a certain way. But yeah, I guess I guess those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it, or maybe the Yankees, the Yankees did win a lot back in the 70s, so maybe they thought that they could catch some of that magic. Fritz Peterson actually died earlier this year.
It says that he was a regular at Old Timers Day, and we were talking about that earlier this year. I wonder if Fritz Peterson maybe passed Giancarlo Stanton in the hallway and was like, hey, let bygones be bygones, huh? Why not?
Yeah. Maybe he visited him in like a dream or something.
It's not that bad.
Yeah. I mean, good for good for Peterson for getting the better end of that deal, and I guess Bellinger has so far gotten the better end of that deal. But I mean, I would assume.
Well, Giancarlo Stanton's getting over $300 million. I think he's doing pretty good for himself.
Yeah. He's getting over $300 million. He's a pretty jacked, pretty good looking dude. So
this is
I'm
what
sure
the money's for. Because if as regular human beings, I had to work with the guy that's now married to my ex every single day I'm walking past. Lame ass.
Yeah. I'm sure. Yeah. So I'm sure that I'm sure they'll be able to make it work. I mean, especially like, especially in this day and age of like social media where everything's known, like you'd have to think that like, hopefully they at least like told Giancarlo like, hey, like
Yeah,
we're gonna do this.
yeah,
Like, do you think you can handle this? And I'm sure he was just like, yeah, whatever. Like, I don't care.
yeah. Because if you got to think that he feels some type of way about it, it's like, okay, yeah, Stanton's not the face of the team anymore and all that, but like, you have to take that into consideration. You can't like he's gonna be like they're not gonna release him. I mean, he's still valuable in the sense of we just saw it in October is how important he is. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
you don't want to piss that
Even
guy off. So it's like, all
even
right,
not in
we just can't
October,
indict this.
even not in October, you saw how valuable Stanton was to the team, and now that's like even more apparent with Soto gone. Because I mean, you saw like kind of what the Yankees turned into when Stanton got hurt, and teams were more easily able to maneuver around Judge and Soto, and
Mm-hmm.
the Yankees won like I think like 10 or 11 games over like a 60-day stretch of time. So
Mm-hmm.
so I'd say Giancarlo Stanton's value to this team is, has increased, if anything. So I'm sure they at least ran it by him. Like, hey, he's gonna be, we're gonna make him pay for his suite too. Don't worry. But he's gonna be allowed to smoke in it. Yankees are gonna be between him and Jazz. There's gonna be a lot of smoke in that clubhouse.
I also, I mean, let it be noted because I saw this getting thrown around the timeline a lot today in Fried's press conference. They presented his parents with flowers. They lesson learned.
Indeed, yeah. I guess. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I guess. I guess at least they learned from that mistake instead of just like, hey, instead of just saying like, oh, hey, he just wasn't, Soto wasn't down with the shits. They're like, all right, like let's at least try to court free agents a little
All
bit
right.
better than throwing their families out of designated areas of sorts.
It's like shit. We pissed off Griffey and Soto. All right, let's not make it 3.
Yeah, yeah. Let's not make it 3, especially right now when we're trying to, we're trying to like get back into the World Series. Obviously, there's kind of like, there's kind of been like this shift in perception as far as like, who runs the city as far as baseball goes. I think it's still TBD, to be honest. I'm not ready to like crown anyone yet as far as that goes.
I mean, I can't speak for everyone, honestly, but I would say that was something that I mean, and it's funny for me to care about living down here, but like that's something that I would have given a shit about, in like 2006. When you
Right.
get older, it's more like, all right, cool. What do we get for that? It's like
Yeah.
you win, like, and that's when you get older and you've gone with, and I think we're in the same boat on this. When it's been a while, you're like, all right, cool. Does that mean anything in October? Oh, it doesn't. All right, then whatever. I don't.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and like I saw like the day after Soto signed with the Mets, I was watching I think it was a John Boy podcast, and they were talking about like how like I think one of them mentioned the idea of signing Pete Alonso, and I think it was like Josie McFly or something like that. And then I think it was like John Boy, Josie McFly, and Jake. And I think Jake was the one who brought up signing Pete Alonso. And Josie McFly and John Boy both said no. And they were both kind of like, yeah, that would make us like the little brother, like, going after the Mets like sloppy seconds. And I was like, listen, man, I don't really give a shit about big brother, little brother. I don't really care about people swapping wives or big brother, little brother. I don't care about any of that. I care about what makes my team better. If Pete Alonso makes my team better, then I am down to sign him. I'm sure you feel the same way. Or same thing with Juan Soto. Like it's like we both wanted him on our team because we knew he would make our team better. And that's really all that matters. It doesn't matter, big brother this, little brother that, or whatever the energy is, surrounding an organization or a franchise. Like
it's
it's
not
just
quite the same, obviously, but it's why like I know Met fans like shit on Ohtani down the stretch because of the MVP thing. I'm like, I couldn't do it because one, I enjoy watching him, and two, when he was a free agent last year, I definitely wanted him.
oh yeah,
Like, and now
I
now
wanted
I'm
him
sitting here and
too. I
act like I
mean,
didn't. I can't do
yeah.
that.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted him too. I knew he wasn't going to come here, so I didn't really put too much stock into it. It wasn't like it wasn't as big of a blow as like, oh shit, like Soto's, oh shit, like Soto's gone. But yeah, I definitely wanted him, and like it's interesting too because like I think we've kind of seen it now with both fan bases, like both the Yankees and the Mets, from Ohtani's time playing with the Angels and all the times that like him and Aaron Judge like kind of went toe to toe for the MVP in given years, and now with or like when Ohtani won Rookie of the Year over Andujar, like there was a lot of like Ohtani hate from Yankee fans like over the years. And now like you kind of saw that too from Mets fans when when you got to like the Ohtani versus Lindor MVP debate. So it's kind of interesting that like both New York fan bases like kind of have this like sort of like affinity against Shohei Ohtani. And like part of it's like justified in the sense that it's like he never wanted to smoke in New York, regardless if it was the Yankees or the Mets. Like, he never wanted the smoke of playing in New York. But it's just kind of funny to me that that's something like both fan bases like could come together on, the fact that like, oh yeah, we both have superstar players that we have to like argue their case over Ohtani's for MVP or whatever.
And really, it's the meme format of the villain, him, the real villain, and it's a picture of Freddie Freeman.
Yep.
Because he's whooped us decent, both teams. So
yeah, and then the real villain is Mookie Betts.
Mookie didn't kill us. I can't claim that. I totally get it for you guys.
Yeah,
but yeah, Freddie Freeman did us like that for a decade.
Yeah, Freddie Freeman did that for a decade, and then I'm not sure. I'm not sure how good he was in the NLCS. I assume obviously he didn't do what he did in the World Series, but I assume
he was barely moving. That's the crazy thing. I think I said on the like a pot or two ago, but it's like if you told me directly after the NLCS, Freddie Freeman's going to have one of the best World Series in recent memories. Him? He took 2 games off in the series because he's hurting. That guy?
Yeah, no, that is actually that's actually a good point. But yeah, no, it's just just funny how we have we're not so different, you and I. We have a lot of this. We have a lot of the same. We have a lot of the same core principles at the end of the day, and we kind of have affinities against a lot of the same people. But a lot of times, especially at a time like now with the whole Juan Soto thing, where people tend to lose track of that.
This is our Joker and the Dark Knight, like at the top of the building, at the end of the Dark Knights. He's like, we're destined to do this forever.
Yeah, exactly. So now I guess it's kind of so the Yankees kind of responded to this was kind of like the Yankees' initial response to losing Juan Soto and kind of beginning their offseason, because obviously Soto was the first domino to fall. And then it was like, all right, like, what are we actually going to do now? We obviously have to move forward and we have to make moves. We can't just mope in this. Like, Soto's gone. So, now we have to use these resources towards something. And I think overall they responded pretty well. I would say, both the Cody Bellinger. I think that the Devin Williams trade was an absolute slam dunk. As long as he doesn't have to face Pete Alonso in the playoffs again or a World Series. So, I would say Cashman, do what you got to do to prevent that. But aside from that, I mean, I thought that was a great piece of business. And, overall, overall, I don't really have too many qualms with the Fried and Bellinger deals, but I think that those are a little higher risk than the Devin Williams move.
No, I mean those did address areas like you needed. Not necessarily that you need like another ace, and I'm not saying Max Fried isn't that, but like Garrett Cole's clearly your established one. That's what he's there for. But I think you needed to have another guy that, if you're in a 7-game series, like okay, he's going to start 2 and 6, and you can feel pretty confident that if you get into a game 6 of a 7-game series, and Max Fried's the one taking the ball, you'd feel pretty good about that.
Yeah, and then I think
line up a 3-game set where it's Boston. It's all right, cool. We're gonna have Cole on Friday night. We'll have Fried on Saturday, and then we can put Heel or Schmidt starting game 3. We're good there.
Yeah, or Rodon.
Or Rodon.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely like Heel to. I would definitely like Heel to like take that step and really like solidify himself as like the number 3 in our rotation. Because he had a great rookie year. He had a couple of bumps in the road, and then obviously in the playoffs, when the lineups get deeper and the talent gets better, he did get hit around a little bit. But if he could like really build on his rookie year, which is part of why I think the as cool as it would have been to get Kyle Tucker, and for about 24 to 48 hours, Yankees fans were showing their whole ass for Kyle Tucker, and they were coping to embarrassing levels, to, if we're being quite frank, with the whole like, oh, Kyle Tucker is actually better than Juan Soto. That's just insane levels of coping, levels you will not see me stoop to.
Listen, but my team's network put out James McCann versus JT Realmuto graphics when they both signed as free agents in 2020. And I saw all those things going around. I'm like, hey, I know those.
Yeah. So, it's coping.
Granted, there's still stuff that needs to be taken care of, but if nothing else, you've added depth to your bullpen, making Devin Williams your closer, and now Luke Weaver's your 8th inning guy. Bellinger, you can kind of deploy anywhere. I think personally his athleticism would be best used in center field. I get, hey, we might need to take care of first occasionally, but it's not that even just that he's a center fielder. He plays it well. Like we have those. And then
Judge plays it well too, but like how long are you really gonna trot Aaron Judge out in center field? Like I think that him moving back to right field with Soto now gone is probably the right move.
Exactly.
I think that hopefully this is the year where Jason Dominguez is like ready, to like play a full year. Hopefully he's healthy and hopefully he's ready. Because I think that he might eventually, become the center fielder, but they need to get him some. Me and JJ were actually talking about this last night in the we were on the voice chat in Discord because we were doing stuff for the college football dynasty, and then we just kind of were bullshitting about the Yankees for a little bit. We were trying to figure out if Dominguez is playing Dominican winter ball, and if he is, which I couldn't, from searching on Google, I could not determine whether or not he's playing Dominican winter ball. I feel like he probably does because he's like from there, so it would make sense for him to play Dominican winter ball. But either way, like the Yankees need to give him some reps in left field because obviously, like Verdugo's gone now; he's not coming back, and that's a good thing. So we have an opening in left field if you're going to put Bellinger in center primarily. And he does play a good center field. So I think that, giving Dominguez some reps in left field so that he can play there, rather than kind of rolling the dice with him in center, I think that is something that the Yankees need to do, in spring training, if not sooner. And then, I do agree that Bellinger probably, he's probably best suited in center for right now. you move Judge back over to right, where he's proven that because Judge, I think, despite that what happened in that World Series game, which is like one of the very few errors I've actually seen Judge make. He's actually
I don't even think that's the issue. I think it's just more a case of we know Judge has racked up those injuries before, and it's the fact that
you have to cover a lot
has
more ground in center field, and there's a lot more chance of getting hurt running around
for someone his size to have to cover that much ground that often.
Yeah, even though it was the
injury risk.
Even though it was the right field wall at Dodger Stadium that did him in 2023.
Well, I mean, those you can't prepare for. Like,
that was
things like that can happen.
Yeah.
But in terms of like muscle stuff, that's going to happen if you have to play gap to gap center field defense constantly. And I'm not even saying this like he's not in shape, but just like you don't see a lot of 6'10", 260 center fielders. Those just don't exist. So we don't really have a reference point for, how do you avoid him getting hurt? We just don't know because he's the first one to do it.
Yeah.
So to minimize that risk, okay, well, you have a guy who can play Gold Glove caliber defense in center field. Or, I mean, you hope Dominguez is that guy, but I know Cody Bellinger's that guy. I've seen him do
it. Yeah, and then hopefully Spencer Jones is ready to take a step too, and he's ready to play some ball. So that could like kind of help solidify or like round out our outfield. Although I don't think we should necessarily, I don't necessarily think we should bank on both of them. Obviously, they're both pretty highly touted prospects for us. But I think that, if they were to go out and sign another outfielder or trade for another outfielder, I really wouldn't hate it or mind it at all, because then you got depth in the outfield, which is something the Yankees have always kind of had, depth in the outfield, and it's never really been a bad thing for them. It gives you flexibility when it comes to, making trades to strengthen other parts of your roster. It also gives you the flexibility to have Bellinger play more first base, and, you can really like spread the lineup out. So, I would say if the Yankees were to, pursue more outfielders, I wouldn't hate that. If they wanted to, get active in the first base market, I think that would be wise for them to do as well. So, I think it's really, now it's a matter of kind of like what's next for them. But I guess shifting gears real quick, the Mets also made a signing today. I think it was the first signing. Is this the first signing they made since, like, at least first non-minor league signing they made since Soto signing Griffin Canning today?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I mean they've had a bunch of minor league deals, but to the roster, yes, Griffin Canning is it. And I gotta say, I do trust David Stearns, especially after this past year, and because again, early in the season, I wasn't sure. I am now, and we talked on one of the last two pods about, hey, look, this team's got a pitching lab now. They've been able to rehabilitate guys. I don't know if you want to make the whole rotation out of the pitching lab and projects. And I guess my biggest fear, and I want to credit Ryan Pladino on Twitter and Blue Sky, if you see him at
Dinosaur, right?
Yeah, he's really good, and I just want to credit his tweet. Of course, I trust David Stearns
from Isles Twitter,
but I got to say I'm perplexed by bringing in another project arm. They now have 6.5 starting pitcher caliber arms that can't go to the minors. So I have to imagine that's it, unless they're going to release Paul Blackburn. And if this is your rotation, it's very uninspiring. Even if everything goes to plan, you only have one great starter that's not going to play in October. And he's right. Obviously, Kodai Senga's your one, and this is accounting for Sean Manaea not being signed right now. So as it stands here tonight, Senga's your one, which, all right, fine. David Peterson's your two, which on the last year, yes, I could see that. That's also been his first really solid season front to back as a major leaguer. He's been up since 2020. And it's not that I don't doubt David Peterson. It's just we have one solid year of track record to go on.
It's a very small sample size with him.
Frankie Montas is your 3, Clay Holmes is your 4, and now you have Griffin Canning or Paul Blackburn as your 5. And remember, Paul Blackburn got back surgery during the postseason. And he's 30, so we don't even know what he's going to be. And that's not even counting the fact, are the Mets going to make sure Jose Butto is a full-time reliever, or do they want to move him back into the rotation? Because I didn't think he was all that inspiring in the first month when he was strictly a starter. But having watched him as a multi-inning reliever, it's okay. I could see why they were trying to do it.
Yeah, Christian Scott's out for the year too.
Yeah,
right?
He's got Tommy John, and that's not even counting Brandon Sproat, who, if he just continues his 2024 into 25, and he forces the issue where it's all right, we have to bring this kid up, then who do you bump? Because, like they said, you can't send Clay Holmes down to the minors, you can't send Frankie Montas down to the minors. If Griffin Canning's just bad right out of the chute for the first month and a half, they just granted it's not a lot of money, but you would still be cutting him. So, and then of course, like Tyler McGill's still here, of course. He survives everything. So I just wonder, like, okay, is it Senga, Peterson, and a bunch of projects, or are they still working on Sean Manaea? Are they? Because I do want to credit Ozametsias on Twitter. He said, "I'm not going to bitch about every depth signing and upside play. I would much rather have Stearns thinking hard about every last roster spot on the 40-man than someone like Manaea who grabbed the big names, or Omar Manaea, I guess, because that sounds, than someone like Omar Manaea who grabbed the big names but never had enough depth," which is true, because I can remember in 2007 down the stretch when Pedro was hurt and we had other guys in the rotation that were out, like Aaron Seeley was starting games in September. That went the way exactly you would think it would go. So,
yeah, I mean,
like, I guess I would, if Sean Manaea was already signed and they made this deal, I'd be like, okay, cool. That's
like a good like, good like plan B reactionary move. But
like, okay, I guess pitchers get hurt. This is how this works. But I'm just like, man, don't let him get away.
Yeah, signing him. Yeah, I guess signing him before Manaea is like kind of, I guess it's a little alarming. I mean, maybe it was just an easier deal to get done, and you take the layups when you can get them, and yeah, you definitely need depth, but you need dogs too. You know what I mean? Like, depth is great, but you need your dogs, like the people who are gonna like headline your rotation and headline your team. For the depth pieces to really matter to that extent. Otherwise, you just have a bunch of guys.
And if we're talking about dogs, I know people will point to Manaea's last start in the NLCS. It's like, hey, look, it happens. I also remember his game 2 against the Dodgers. I remember his game 3 against the Phillies. I remember his game 2 against the Brewers. I remember all the money starts he had in September. I want that. I want that guy.
Yeah, you take the overall body of work, because you don't get to have those shitty starts in the NLCS without what he did in September and August. And speaking of dogs, Max Fried is going to be able to buy his dog a lot of toys and a lot of treats. Apparently, that was those were the first things he did when he after he signed his contract, was he bought like a fuck ton of dog food and a bunch of treats for his dog Apollo. So,
we just got to wonder what the dog pecking order is now with the Yanks. I mean, obviously we know Aaron Judge's dogs are big celebrities in the Yankee verse.
I'd say
Apollo number 2.
I think Apollo is number 2, especially now that Verdugo's gone.
Yeah, now you can go back to barking being a good thing in the Yankee verse.
It's nice to it's nice to be able to enjoy the barking again. Verdugo really sucked the joy out of barking. Really just made me become even more of a cat person than I already am.
He's poor Apollo Fried's gonna be like, no, you don't understand. They have PTSD from last year. That's why they
Yeah, no, it's okay.
You didn't do anything.
Although with Judge, I know he won't discriminate, because he was enabling the he was enabling the bark culture that was going on last year. But yeah, I mean, so yeah, I'd say, you know, Pete Alonso and Sean Manaea are probably like two of the bigger, you know, him and obviously Corbin Burns too. I'd say those are probably like three of the bigger like names that are left on the free agent market. I mean, what do you kind of see happening there?
Well, what's interesting is, I mean, it really seems as if Pete Alonso's market at this point is
Not too hot.
It's the two New York teams. I mean, at least we're hearing that. I would have thought the Cubs at one point, but then you trade for Kyle Tucker, and then immediately Cody Bellinger basically amounts to a salary dump.
Yeah,
So
like if
are they really going to be serious about going after Pete?
Like if you really needed if you really needed a first, you know, if you really needed a high paid first baseman who can hit bombs, like you had one and you traded him away. So it's hard to really see them getting into hot pursuit for Pete Alonso.
I will say the one thing I would grant the Cubs, and I'm not saying that this absolves them, but they do have a great power hitting prospect in Owen Casey, who is listed as a outfielder first baseman. So I guess, and they do have a couple other outfielders who are supposed to be coming up. So if you look at it and you're thinking, okay, well, they plan on keeping Kyle Tucker, so that's one outfield spot. They still have Ian Happ. They're going to have a couple other of these guys coming. And if Owen Casey comes up and he sticks, you're probably putting him at first. I'm not saying do that. I think what you would do in that case, if you're the Cubs and you really wanted to have a major league caliber bat at first right now, and I wouldn't even hate the Mets doing this, is maybe you don't give Pete the 5-6 years. And maybe this is something that only the Mets can do is, and they've done this with other players. They did this with Scherzer and Verlander. Give them the higher AAV with fewer years, where it's, hey, you're still going to get your money. It just might not be 6 years the way you want, but you're still going to get paid. You're going to get paid very well here. And if you keep hitting when you're 34, hey, somebody's going to want you as a DH. You're still going to make DHs make coin. We don't have to lie about that.
Yeah, no, that's true. Well, and I'll also have you know that, you know, since it appears we might be getting into another battle or war over, you know, over a highly touted free agent. If years is what he's looking for, we offered Juan Soto more years. So do with that information what you will, Petey boy.
But what I will say about the other three or the other two big names that are still out there, we at least know what Pete's market is. We know the Mets would like to bring him back. We know the Yankees are looking at him. We know the Cubs have kind of had 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
That's kind of been the Cubs. That's kind of like what the Cubs that's kind of like what their whole like organizational philosophy seems to be right now. Like it seems like they're 1 foot in, 1 foot out on a lot. They're not going all in on contending or competing, but they're also still making like some splash moves. And it's, you know, it's kind of hard to gauge like what the plan is there. Obviously they got some talent in the pipeline, but it still feels like, you know, it still feels like that talent's probably like another, you know, probably more like 2026, 2027.
I can't figure out what the Cubs are doing because, and I'm not saying or excusing what small market teams do, but I could at least understand where it's okay. Yeah, you don't have the television eyeballs on you, and you may not have the television money that some of the other teams do, and you don't have the attendance. The Cubs have Wrigley Field.
All those things.
Yeah, that like none of this is, and they've been doing well recently. Like people always show up for them. People always watch them. Their merch always sells, whether they're winning or not. Now,
yeah, the Cubs are kind of like a national brand.
Now, ultimately, them letting the World Series core by luck kind of worked out because we know what happened with Javi Baez. Chris Bryant just completely falling off a cliff was unexpected. Rizzo was getting older, so you understand why you would let him go. Schwarber, that one never made sense to me because, like, even at Wrigley, he still would have raked there. But like that core was tailor-made to be there forever, and they just kind of let it happen.
Yeah, it seems like they Yeah, it seems like they may have even kind of cut the cord early on that.
Yeah.
Like Schwarber is still hitting nukes in the postseason like it's his job, which it is his job. You know,
And
like
they spent a ton of money on Dansby Swanson. They threw down for him. They threw down money for Stroman. They
and like
paid Bellinger well.
And like obviously Rizzo and Bryant both fell off their respective cliffs in their respective careers. But like when the Cubs parted ways for them, and I guess it's better to move on early than to move on late, but it did feel like they still had a few good years left in them where they maybe could have like made something happen. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, they definitely have an interesting approach for a team that has all the resources in the world, really.
And it feels like even when they went and got Imanaga last year, like they put out decent money for that, but it was still like, oh wow, they actually went and did it.
Yeah.
When the Tucker trade came down, I think everyone looked at that deal and kind of had the same thought of, well, you're going to pay to keep him too, right? Like, I mean, they gave up something. They gave up two notable prospects of theirs, and you don't trade for Kyle Tucker unless you think you're in business. Like, we're closer than you think. And if you're going to do that, Kyle Tucker's in his prime right now.
I don't know if Kyle Tucker had a no move clause in his deal, but like he's not waiving that unless he thinks he could go somewhere where he can win.
Yeah. And if you're going to trade for Kyle Tucker, you keep that guy around. Like you're not renting him and being like, well, whatever happens, happens. You should want to have a bat like that for 5-6 years. So that's
exactly.
I was very so yeah. It's weird, like seeing the other markets develop. Like we know who's interested in Pete. I haven't really heard any talk of. I mean, I know the Mets want to bring Manaea back. I don't know who else is looking at him. And
I've looked it up, and like, there's so many teams that people are like suggesting, but it's all just rumors. There's nothing of substance. Like it's all like clickbait articles. Like, like the Chicago Cubs are rumored to be in on him. The Mets are rumored to reunite with him. I saw something that the Padres could be in the mix for Manaea, which I don't know how much. I don't know how much
go back there.
Yeah, I don't know how much he wants to go back there. I don't know how much sense it makes for the Padres, considering that they had to let Soto go because they were cash poor themselves. So,
I mean, they had Sean Manaea before, and like they basically made him a reliever.
It didn't really. That wasn't really the best spot for him. So, yeah, I think with Manaea, honestly, I think like the most likely scenario is I think Manaea either ends up back with the Mets or he goes to the Orioles as like a replacement for Corbin Burns, and Corbin Burns I think ends up with I think Burns is going to end up in San Francisco.
That's another one where we just really haven't heard the market on him either, which is crazy considering most of the other big free agent pitcher names are nailed down.
Yeah, and and especially like so many moves have been made at this point, and like the main domino in Soto has fallen. Like I thought that after Soto signed, I thought Corbin Burns would be signed like within a couple of days, and he's still out there. So it's one of those things that seems to be dragging on. We also have to very quickly. We just have to laugh at the Astros downfall. I used to pray for times like this, but Nolan Arenado, who he's not necessarily what he once was as a player, but the Cardinals were interested in trading him to the Astros, and Arenado blocked it with his no move clause. So he decided, even at this stage in his career where he's late in his career, and I'd say the only thing Arenado is really missing at this point in his life is a ring, and he chose not to go to a team that won the World Series within the last 3 years, and has been in 4 World Series, like, in the last 10 years. So I used to pray for times like this. I don't know where Nolan Arenado is going to end up, but I'm glad it's not the Astros.
I mean, let's go ahead and update the list of things that are done in 2024 that are finito, kaput, over. The New York Rangers.
Cooked.
I'm jumping on that before you. Drake.
Cooked.
Kirk Cousins.
Fried.
Dunzo. He's out of here. And the Houston Astros.
Baby.
Dorco Chains. He's on the bench. He's swag surfing his goofy ass to the bench.
Yeah. He's definitely having some private conversations right now that he just hopes do not get out there.
But hey, he misquotes rap lyrics.
Yeah.
But looking at the depth chart right now for the Astros.
I thought you were going to say the depth chart of things that are cooked in the year of 2024. What's worse?
The Astros, you've got Verlander coming back at 42 off injury. I mean, and I can't even keep count. I can't remember who exactly was hurt in the Astros rotation last year. I just know it was almost everybody. You've got Fromber, who's now 31. You've got Christian Javier, who's, I think he had Tommy John, so I'm not sure he's even going to be available. I know Hunter Brown had injury, and he's 26. You don't even count McCullers. I know he's hurt. I think Luis Garcia had a major injury. Hurt. I mean, you're counting on Spencer Arrighetti, who was wildly up and down, would have 4 to 5 start stretches where you're like, okay, they've got something. And then he'd give up 10 runs in 2 innings. You don't know what you're getting from him. You have JP France in that rotation. You don't know what you're getting from him. They got Hayden Wisniewski from the Cubs in the Kyle Tucker deal. I don't think he's been a full-time starter with the Cubs. So I don't even know what you're really getting there. Your main first baseman right now is Jonathan Singleton, who's 33 and just really started to carve out regular major league playing time for the first time in his career this year. And I remember covering him as a prospect. So that should tell you something. Jose Altuve is going to be 35 in May. Their third baseman right now, provided Alex Bregman doesn't come back, which if the Astros were trying to trade for Arenado, what signal does that send?
Yeah, no, I think Bregman's a goner. I do wonder. Well, I do wonder if Bregman could end up in pinstripes.
Now their third baseman is Isaac Paredes, which could be something to have him hitting with the Crawford boxes. He should hit better in Houston than he did at Wrigley, I would think.
Yeah, and Paredes isn't bad. So I mean, they could have something there, and it does seem like they're probably. It does seem like they're probably moving on from Alex Bregman, and I never was a big Alex Bregman fan, but I'd welcome him on the Yankees with open arms.
At short, Jeremy Pena's regressed each of the last 2 years since he had that great October. His OPS, I think, was a point above 700. And their outfield right now, it's occasionally you play Jordan in left, but other than that, it's Mauricio Dubon, who's 30. Jake Myers is your center fielder right now. Ches McCormick is your right fielder as of right now. He regressed incredibly this past. He was I want to say between 25 and 30 home runs in 2023. He fell back to earth precipitously in 2024. And then you have Jordan and DH. Like your sure things right now are you have Jordan. Yenier Diaz is probably one of the 5 best catchers in the league. And
do they still have Michael Brantley?
I have to count Altuve as a sure thing until he stops being one.
Yeah, he's a short thing until he's not.
But he's also 35. How long is he going to be a sure thing?
Yeah. Michael Brantley is 37 and not he retired?
He did retire during the season last year.
Oh, yeah, he retired before last season. Okay. Yeah, so he's gone. Yeah, they pretty much it's just Altuve and Jordan. And then, I mean, Justin Verlander is he's like 42 years old now. And he's no longer even on the team. So, yeah.
He's a free agent. That's true.
Yeah, so yeah, the Astros downfall, dare I say the Astros downfall is here, and I'm enjoying it. I wasn't too quick to jump on the, you know, celebrating the Astros downfall back in like April or May of last year, because like I just wasn't sold on it, and they did still get back to the playoffs, but it seems like they're going to be much worse off in 2025 than they were in 2024. So that's
here's the
something I
question.
will look forward to.
Does the Astros West Division title streak end?
This could be the year.
Assuming we're not counting 2020, because I don't think they did that year. But like their full season division title streak is in jeopardy, I think.
Yeah, who even won the West in 2020? Was it the A's?
I believe it was the A's, because I remember the Astros had to play that. That was the first year with the expanded playoff format, and they had to play in Minnesota. Yeah, they did finish second. There we go. Yeah, okay.
That's right. It was the A's. Yeah, the Astros got into the playoffs with a losing record in 2020.
Mm-hmm. And
yeah, what a weird season. The White Sox were in the playoffs in 2020, and look at them now. The White Sox were in the playoffs in 2020, and they won. They only won like 4 less games than they won this year.
They made the playoffs in 2020, and they're like, you know what we need? Tony La Russa.
Yeah. Tony La Russa.
But if does the Astros a full season division title streak end, and who does it?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, because it's like every year it feels like, oh, is this the year the Mariners like take that step, and then like they just kind of don't. I mean, last year was probably the closest thing they had to it. Finishing like a game out of the playoffs and like being over 500, but it's like, it always seems like they're a step away until like they're not. And like there's rumors that they might be trading Luis Castillo. So, they could potentially be getting worse. They could be getting better for the future, but they could be getting worse in 2025. So
I hope they do.
Yeah, I think
they're doing that so that they can go after Christian Walker, which please do. Please.
Yeah, no, by all means.
Best first baseman in the NL.
Just save us from our own stupidity. I mean, Texas, like, could Texas recapture the magic of 2023? I don't know. It kind of feels like their best days are behind them. But I mean, I guess Texas could bounce back. Who knows what the A's will do, in Sacramento. It seems like they're at the very least willing to spend money now. So, maybe they're a dark horse. And the Angels, I'm not even going to consider the Angels.
But not only did the A's sign Luis Severino, they traded for Jeffrey Springs from the Rays. Like, the A's lineup was decent last year. Between Rooker, Lawrence Butler, I still think Zach Geloff, I know he didn't have as good of a year last year. He's still somebody.
They have Mike Cameron's son, too, and Jack Wilson's son. They have some baseball royalty out there.
Yeah, so
Sacramento's getting like a pretty fun team, actually.
And they still have one of the 5 best closers in baseball. They didn't trade Mason Miller.
Yeah,
so it's like if they're starting pitching,
it was a smart move, honestly.
If their starting pitching is healthy, which like with Severino, you do want to see it, and Springs is just coming back from Tommy John. So if those two hold up, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Now we'll see how it plays in that park, because it's a minor league park, but still.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, it wouldn't be Severino's first time pitching in a minor league ballpark in the major leagues.
Wait, what I miss?
Oh, I'm just talking about like Yankee Stadium. It's
I was like, wait a minute.
It's like a bandbox, so it can't be that much more difficult for a pitcher.
Well, and it won't be the only minor league stadium he pitches in next year. Well, the Rays.
Oh yeah, that's right. There's many minor league, which is also technically our stadium. So yeah, there's like 3 minor league.
I've actually called multiple minor league games in that park. So
oh shit, that's awesome.
It's the best part of that for me is where they would have me set up. I could literally look out the window. There's Raymond James Stadium. Huh.
Yeah, I know that place.
I will say it's going to be very fascinating, and I'm sure they're going to make sure to schedule it in a way. Matter of fact, I think they had already said they're basically front-loading
the home
first
games.
half with their home games because they know,
Right.
okay, we're going to avoid the weather and, between the
avoid the
rain and the
football.
heat.
Yeah.
But to make sure that they have no weekend series in September at home
When the Bucks
because
are home. Yeah.
because that would be
Well,
traffic hell.
oh
I can
God,
speak of
yeah.
experience being on Dale Mabry Boulevard. That is hell.
Yeah, like one or the other is probably bad enough. I'm sure
Oh,
like
yeah.
Florida traffic in general sucks. And I'm sure
Oh,
even if it's like even if it's like traffic, even if it's like traffic like for a full house at a minor league game, I'm sure even that's like not fun. So for
Can
both
confirm.
to be so good on them for good at them for at least doing something right. It does seem like relocation is becoming a much more real possibility for the Rays. I saw something today that like some of the investors are like that like we're investing in the new stadium or like backing out, and there's like second thoughts. There's some chatter. That Montreal chatter is coming back. I hope the Rays stay though. I enjoy the. I hope the Rays find a way to stay in Tampa. I do enjoy the whole AL East rivalry, and the shit
really
talk
shitty
that
part
kind of
of it.
goes on back and forth between like Yankees fans and the Rays Twitter account. Like I don't want to lose that, so I hope they're able to figure something out.
I mean, the real shitty part of it is what could potentially cause this, because as recently as August, it looked like they had this figured out. Okay, this is where we're going to go. This is how we're going to do it. Not everyone liked it. I mean, I think we did talk about on the show. I didn't understand why they were going to stay in St. Pete, but it's okay. It's going to be an upgrade. And then a hurricane just completely throws a wrench in all this. That's what's reignited all of this is
Right.
the Rays want money to fix Tropicana Field for however long they're going to be there. And Pinellas County are basically like, so you want us to help pay for that and pay for the new stadium? Like, come on, help us out here a little bit.
Yeah, like you can't.
They're trying to fix the rest of the. You have to fix the rest of the county that's just been hammered twice in like 2 months. Like,
yeah,
you're not good for any of this.
Yeah. Like you really, like you didn't even have to pay Wander Franco's contract. Like, what are we doing here?
I kind of wish they'd play that card.
Yeah, they should have. If they had any balls, they would play that card.
We could have just disowned you after that. We didn't.
Yeah, and now you're not even on the hook for the money. So, like, what's really good?
Yeah.
Yeah. So one last topic to get to tonight before we end the show. The pursuit of Roki Sasaki has begun. The Yankees are the first team to announce that they have secured a meeting with him. Where and when this meeting is taking place, don't know, but obviously he's the most touted Japanese arm now. Since Yamamoto, really, which obviously is not dating back that far, but he is the Yamamoto of this year. So the Yankees are the first team. The Yankees are the first team to announce that they have a meeting with him. Obviously, he grew up a big. He also grew up a big fan of Masahiro Tanaka. So, hopefully they pull out all the big guns for for that meeting. Apparently, the White Sox also have a presentation prepared for him. I imagine it's probably just a PowerPoint, like a Microsoft PowerPoint that just says the word "please" in big capital letters, because I don't really know what else they could sell him on. Come to Rate Field.
It's like people get better at PowerPoint as they get older, and like people really use that in serious, legitimate meetings at their work, and they really know how to make it work for them.
Right.
I just picture the White Sox using a PowerPoint presentation the same way we, as kids, when we first learned about PowerPoint when we were in 4th grade, like just the basic fonts,
like the mitochondria is the powerhouse of a cell presentation.
it just drops down and it's got like the wacky Comic Sans font.
Yeah. One thing I like vividly remember from like PowerPoint presentations is like we had to do like the whole mitochondria thing, and like the last slide we just put, we would not exist without the mitochondria. Like we purposely spelled exists wrong. So stupid.
I just picture Sasaki's representatives. I don't know if you've ever seen. It's a shitpost graphic classic, but it's the picture of Real Madrid's president, and it just says, "We are here to have a meal." That's that's them meeting with the White Sox. That's them meeting with the Blue Jays. I mean, that's everybody meeting with the Blue Jays. We are here to have a meal.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, in reality, it's probably everyone but the Dodgers at the end of the day, because that's, it seems like a foregone conclusion that's where he's going to end up. But
Although,
right now,
if the White Sox were to bring out that giant ass shake, you'd have to think about it.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, shit, he has a fastball that is that peaks at 102.5 miles per hour. So, I think you got to he also has a 93 mile an hour splitter. He absolutely shoved in the World Baseball Classic.
Oh, yeah.
So,
legitimately, I remember him being better than Yamamoto, and that's not me slighting Yamamoto. I'm saying that's how good Sasaki was.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's Sasaki glazing, not no Yamamoto shade there. So,
if the White Sox
Yankees
do pitch that, I think Sasaki should come back with, yes, I have heard about this Devontae Adams gentleman having a Taco Bell in his house. Can I just have a machine for this shake in my house if I sign with your organization? And the White Sox,
yeah.
How much does that cost? And Reisdorf says, that's a deal breaker, damn it.
I would say whatever money you're saving on getting guaranteed out of your stadium name, you could probably just get, provide that for the shake fountain for Sasaki's house. So I guess what we're saying here is don't sleep on the White Sox getting Roki Sasaki. But, in all seriousness, Yankees, do whatever it takes. I don't care. I said do whatever it takes to get Soto. Do whatever it takes to get Roki Sasaki. Let's have like a 3-headed monster of a pitching rotation. And, then, you have Heel and Rodon as your 4 and 5. And then you can, Clark Schmidt can be like your emergency starter / you can make him a long reliever. So get it done. And yeah, just get it done. Let's break the stigma that every player from Japan has to go to the Dodgers. Maybe they don't all want to share the spotlight. Maybe Sasaki does want to follow in the footsteps of his boy Masahiro Tanaka and be the next big gamer for the New York Yankees.
Yeah, Roki. Can I call you the Roke Man? Roke Man. Pull up a chair real quick. I know you heard about Masahiro Tanaka and you love him and all that. Let me tell you about a gentleman named Keiagawa. Let me tell you how that went for him. You got time? Because I got time.
I don't think he has time, and I think we are out of time. I think that's a good note for us to end it this episode. So this has been episode 30, second to last episode. We'll be back after Christmas for the grand finale. We are hoping to get the at least one, if not both, of the original, who are supposed to be the original hosts of this show on the program. So we are going to be working on trying to do that and doing one final episode of Black Diamond before our great transition. So we thank you all for listening and rocking with us, and hope you will continue to rock with us in 2025. Enjoy your Christmas, enjoy your Kwanzaa, enjoy your holidays, Hanukkah, everything. Peace and love to all. And
be safe if you're out celebrating. We want you to keep coming back.
Yeah. If you're a Jehovah's Witness, that's cool too. It's whatever works for you. Just do it, and just hopefully you can enjoy this time of year. It's kind of like this is the time of year where you call the QB kneel for the last week of work. So enjoy that, and we'll talk to you again soon. Peace.